Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Fr James. Just going to take a little sip here. Oh, that's good coffee. It really is. It hits the spot. Obviously, I'm not wearing my Roman collar. I don't sleep in the thing, by the way. I value it as a symbol. I wear it most times on the coffee video, but today we had a bit of a casual day around the office because we welcomed several new staff members today onto our team, including Deacon David Viscount, who doesn't start until the end of the month. And because of the close proximity of everyone arriving, we decided to have a 2-day staff orientation event with outgoing staff, incoming staff, current staff. And we just finished the first day. It was a remarkable day. It really was incredible. And full day, non-stop, back to back. And we have another one tomorrow. And this kind of team building exercise is so important, because if we've got good relationships and we're healthy as a staff team, then that health and those good relationships will spread throughout the parish. That's the hope. That's the goal. I want to address one thing. Often, for us as Catholic parishes, we often say, why do we need all these staff? Why do we need staff? Or people sometimes say, well, I remember meeting one person who said, well, in our parish, we don't have to pay people to do ministry. Our parishioners do it. Trust me, my model of parish staffing is the staff members we have, we're not paying them to do the ministry either. The thing is, a church fully alive is when the members of the parish are mobilized to take ownership of the parish and ownership of the mission of the church, where they identify and use their gifts to serve the mission of the church in a variety of ways. But you see, everyone who serves or volunteers in some capacity, they need to be supported. The traditional model was either the priest does everything or the priest supports everyone. And if that's the model we go with, then how many volunteers, how many parishioners can I personally support? 20, 30? You see, a parish is built by relationships, it's built by people in relationship. And so that's why we need to onboard staff who invest in other people. Now, we've got a dual challenge ahead of us, is that with having inherited, our 5 parishes, 4 locations, 13 buildings, crumbling infrastructure, outdated infrastructure, going off a demographic cliff, with the looking at how we're failing to reach younger people. There's huge shifts that need to happen in how we do things. And one of the things we need to do is grapple with our infrastructure, with all of these buildings and all that means. And there's huge administrative issues through the amalgamation, so we need a good administrative staff. With Brenda's role as office manager, we're finishing off. We've got Roy with operations, who does the big picture with buildings and how we're building our future and present operations of all our buildings. We had a good laugh this morning. We had Mass at Immaculate Conception, and we thought we had to cancel because it turned out there was a family of raccoons invaded the back wall behind the sanctuary. And I said to the people at the beginning of the Mass that I know exactly how to solve that problem. I said, it's easy to get rid of these raccoons, make sure they never come back to our church again. You just baptize them and confirm them, never see them again. 9 times out of 10 anyway. So that's a bad joke, I know. But the reason why it's such a bad joke is that it's kind of sadly true in our pastoral practice. And I said to the folks this morning, our goal is to find new ways of being church, so that joke is no longer relevant, so that when we initiate people into the life of the church, they don't leave the life of the church that very day. It's a total contradiction of what happens with most of the time with our sacraments. So we need to do a lot of work. And so we've got to deal with our infrastructure to make it work for the mission. Then we need to invest in people. We're not going to grow as a parish anymore unless we invest in evangelization. You see, in the past, all we did is basically keep our chins above water. We didn't even succeed in doing that, but we struggled to keep our chins above water when it came to maintaining our buildings. And we often were able to address superficial issues often in our buildings, but ultimately there comes a time when there is foundational issues that you can't avoid anymore, and they come with enormous price tags on them. We simply don't have the people. 2019, pre-amalgamation, pre-COVID, there was a total of 750 people coming to church. It represents from between 2019 and 2001, it represents a 58% reduction in churchgoers, the number of churchgoers since that time. And this is pre-pandemic, pre-amalgamation, and also since that time, mostly everyone who goes to church is 15 years older in 2019. And so this is an existential issue for us as a church, that we need to change how we invest. And so our administrative staff need to invest in helping us to turn our infrastructure in a way that begins to work for mission. And then we need to actually invest in staffing members who actually can move the mission forward. And that means about making disciples, something we kind of really didn't do. So jobs like the communications. I mean, in today's age, if we don't invest in creative forms of communication, we're not going to have a future, especially during a time of pandemic. Investing in evangelization, as I said as well, is non-negotiable. So that's why we have these new staff members. And with regard to funding it, please remember that Anne-Marie Syme, who's my assistant, her salary is paid for by Divine Renovation Ministry. It doesn't cost the parish. We're getting, when Father Rob leaves, we're getting a deacon who volunteers his time. We don't pay Deacon David, and we're using that money that was used to pay Father Rob to cover Nolan's salary, and the 10 hours a week that Father Pat Cosgrove is going to provide our parish beginning at the end of the month. And so please keep that in perspective, that we're not somehow lavishly, carelessly spending parish resources or using resources that we don't have just to grow a staff for the sake of growing a staff. And Jen Dean's position for social outreach coordinator was the result of an outside gift for 1 year, which we hope to fund from outside the parish. So please keep that in perspective. But here's the thing. How can we ever expect things to be different if we don't do something differently? If we don't start doing things differently. And the key is investing in people. Now, here's the thing. Over the last couple of weeks in Coffee with Father James, which reminds me I need to take a sip. Oh, did I say this coffee was good? It's good. Over the last 3 weeks, we took a tour of the different sites. Today I was going to do a walk around of, you might not know which site I'm on right now. This is actually the St. Peter's location. Behind me, you may think, I didn't know we had a field. Yes, we do. We have a field. This is on the St. Peter's location. This is behind Churchill Academy. So you've got the parish church, you've got the building on the hill, which is called the Parish Centre. Beside the school that Churchill Academy is in. Beside that, the old elementary school, which has housed the daycare and the Dartmouth Players Community Theatre for many years. This is behind those buildings. So this is all our land. I was originally going to do a walking tour, as I did last week, but the camera gear that makes that look nice and fluid, it broke. So I'm sitting here, not moving. But the cameraman can still move and show you different scenes as I talk about it. Why do I want to show you the physical locations, especially as I've just made a case that the physical locations are not the most important thing? Well, they're not the most important thing, but they are important. Place matters, our locations matter, our resources matter, that they are both somehow assets and liabilities to us, and we have to coordinate, we have to navigate this new reality. We simply can't sustain everything that we've got. And also because, I think as I go and celebrate daily Mass in the different locations, I'm meeting parishioners who, because of the pandemic and other reasons, have not yet come to Sunday Mass, but will come out to weekday Mass, and that's great, that's fine for now. I hope that very soon you'll start coming to Sunday Mass. But I'm finding out that there's a surprising number of parishioners who actually have not really ventured much onto the other locations. So in these videos, I want everyone to see everything. Because guess what? If you're a member of our parish, you're not a member of St. Peter's Parish. St. Peter's Parish no longer exists. Immaculate Conception Parish no longer exists. St. Paul's Parish no longer exists. There's no such thing as St. Paul's Parish. St. Anthony's Parish no longer exists. There is Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish. Now, there is Immaculate Conception Church, the building, St. Peter's Church, the building, St. Paul's Church, the building, and St. Anthony's Church, the building. The locations are there. And there may be communities of people, of friends from those locations. That's unchangeable. But going into the future, we have a new parish identity that we have to embrace. If we don't come together and do it in an intelligent and wise, yet caring and compassionate way, our future is very much in question. But there's no need for it to be in question if we're willing to move forwards and work together to build our future. Speaking of working together and building our future, I have an announcement to make today, and it's going to be the final thing that I say. Since the completion of the new foundation series, we've been working with many parishioners to discern who's going to serve on the Parish Pastoral Council. And what we did is we identified 50 people who actively participated in the new foundations series. We had a total of about 150 people total took part, but we looked at who were the people who came to all the sessions and were most engaged, and we invited all of them to begin to discern being on Pastoral Council. So we invited them to come to initial meeting. 46 out of 50 came to the meeting, which was amazing. We gave information about what Parish Pastoral Council was going to be, and here I'm going to tell you what it is. It's not like the old parish councils where you managed everything. This is a group that basically we're inviting to create a plan, really, that's going to take us to 2027. So that's what we're asking this group of people to do, is to help us create a plan and then move in that direction to what we're aiming for in 2027. So it's not so much a group of doers or managers as it is more kind of leaning towards planning. And so after the 46 people, and we communicated and answered questions, we gave people a couple of weeks to get back to us. And I think there was something like 28 of the 46 said, yes, I think I'm called to do this. We had another meeting. We invited people to pray about it. The 28 went down to 20. We had a final meeting, and we invited people again to pray and discern. It went down to 16. And here's the thing, we needed 10 people. And so we went through a process of getting people's strengths and gifts in their background and their histories, and looking at values of representation. We wanted representatives from all the different locations, of the different age groups in our parish, the different ethnic groups in our parish, people who have been long-term parishioners, short-term parishioners, new parishioners, mid-term parishioners, whatever way you can dissect the whole thing. And we threw it all into a pot, and we mixed it around, and we discerned 10 people. And I'd like to share with you who those 10 people are. We have some photographs on the screen, and I'm sharing these names. There's no particular order here, but Mariana Carrera is on Pastoral Council. Paul Day, you see Mariana's and Paul's picture there. And then the next two pictures are Sandy Hiltz and Kim McDonald. Kim, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's McDonald or McDonnell. In Scotland, we say McDonald, so I'm going to call you Kim McDonald. Then we have the next two are Bob McKay. I think, yeah, Bob is Bob McKay. Even though I've already told this to Bob in Scotland, we say Bob McKay. But Bob McKay and Pat Mullins. And then we have Joanne Nelson and Tara Newcamp. And then Joe Yurchison is the final person there. Now those are the 10 parishioners, and joined to these members for the Parish Pastoral Council are also the members of the leadership team. Now you might say, well, why is that? Because here's the thing. If you don't blend these two groups together, there's a group that's very close to the action and a group that's maybe looking at the really big picture. You've got to have some overlap. And so the remaining members of Pastoral Council will also be joined by the leadership team, and that includes Dorothy Wincey, Francis Moriarty, Linda Young, and Roy Palaco, and of course myself. So that's 14 people plus myself. And we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago just to look at some of the challenges ahead of us, but what we're planning on doing, we have a meeting coming up on July 15th. I'm going to tell you about that next week. And a very important meeting. And then we're going to be doing some formation things over the summer and really drilling into our work in the fall. And what we're moving towards is a model of Pastoral Council. You know, traditionally Pastoral Councils would meet every one night a month, usually for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And usually I remember back to when I was a young priest, like honestly, some of the most boring meetings I've ever gone to in my life. Like deadly, deadly. I mean, I remember my first pastoral council meeting when I was a new parish priest at a particular parish that I won't name. I remember going to my first meeting and looking at the minutes, and I burst out laughing because after everyone's name on the minutes was the amount of time served, or the amount of time left to serve. I think the term was 2 years, and it literally was like, 1 year, 2 weeks, 5 days, 10 minutes. It's like people, it was like a prison sentence. People hated being on pastoral council. It was so boring. So we don't want that. And instead of these frequent short meetings that you don't really get anything substantially done, we're going to move to less frequent meetings, so maybe 4 times a year, but meeting for almost a full day. And then breaking our team into work groups, because we've got a lot of work to do, nothing short of creating a plan for the parish to move towards 2027 and helping us to move in that direction. And there's a lot of moving parts, So lots more to tell you about this next week and about the meeting next week. Other than that, I hope that you're getting into the feel of summer. It's great to have people back at church. Numbers were down this past weekend. They were certainly up from the week before when we only had a limit of 50 people, but not anywhere near what they used to be. But of course, it was Canada Day weekend and the summer and all of that. But I'm hoping to see you all soon at church on Sunday or at some of the weekday masses we're having across the parish. And I think I've probably said, and that's probably enough. Your coffee's probably either finished or cold by now. So thanks for your patience here with me. Why don't you visit the St. Peter's site sometime and come up and see the field for yourself. God bless.